Hello everybody and welcome back to F1 23 with me, Dan, and the Razor Sloth Tech team. We're going to get straight underway with a chassis upgrade, which should bring us roughly in line with where Alfa Romeo are right now, as that's an area that we are sorely lacking in, and more upgrades being unlocked there, which is great to see, and our upgrade coming through for Spec 2. An interesting race coming up this week. It's Imola, and we've switched off the racing line. So at this point, I've had about, I would say, 4 or 5 days with the racing line off, doing time trial on stream. You can check that out on YouTube and Twitch. 7:30 GMT, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And things are going okay. Mixed results so far as we pick up a pit equipment upgrade. But otherwise, doing okay, as long as I'm fairly familiar with the circuit, which unfortunately I'm not so familiar with Imola. So we got practice 1 out the way there, which I did actually on track for once, and straight over to quick practice to finish off the rest of the sessions, because I don't want to get everything. Although, actually, it looks like we're going to get everything there as we complete. Yep, that's another completion there as we go into practice 3 now. Or not, actually, no, because is there a sprint race? There isn't. No, that was it. We did do 2 practice sessions because I did 1 in the rain. But we get another chassis upgrade and also a DRS upgrade. And what better way to learn how to drive with no traction control and no racing line than to go to a circuit that you're unfamiliar with in wet conditions. Here we are then in Imola. Thankfully the circuit has not flooded on this occasion, but it is wet, and that's not ideal for me as I struggle in the wet with the traction control on medium. So that's just fantastic. And now we don't have any braking references either, because I didn't actually do any wet weather running in practice, now that I think of it. Anyway, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. We'll get on with the starting grid order for here in Imola. We had a dry qualifying, so hopefully the results here will help us out a little bit as we take absolutely forever, there we go, to get into the starting grid order for this race. And on the front row we have Charles Leclerc, front row in Azerbaijan in both events. He's alongside Sergio Perez. Further down in the rest of the order, we have Radiant Slothz in P3 alongside Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, and Pierre Gasly. Esteban Ocon and George Russell, Lando Norris and Zhou Guanyu, Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen, Alex Albon and Jack Doohan, Oscar Piastri and Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hülkenberg and Lance Stroll, Kevin Magnussen and Logan Sargent. Finally, Nick De Vries and Teo Pourchaire picks up a penalty, and we'll be down to the circuit. Not quite sure how we got P3 in this event, to be totally honest, but we were in the dry, which may have something to do with it. I don't think the difficulty was below 90 at this point. I'm pretty sure it was on about 90, 95. So I think we just got lucky, and now that we're in the wet, we might have to just spend the next 18 laps or so, however long this race is, literally just getting in everyone's way and stopping them from overtaking, because unless there's a safety car, no one's coming into the pits. There's no chance of strategy to help people get past me. So without further ado then, let's get on with the first no racing line event here on the channel, here in Imola. Well, thankfully no sprint race here on this game in Imola. I'm not sure if there was going to be one in the actual event, but thankfully we don't have to do it anyway. As lights out and away we go down towards turn 1. Sergio Perez coming across aggressively there in the run down to turn 1 as he defends P2. We do actually make contact with him and run wide into turn 1. Carlos Sainz trying to get his nose alongside us, but we've managed to hold him off as we come down towards the next chicane.
The rain looks like it's going to be getting much lighter over the next 10 to 15 minutes. There should be more grip, but don't expect a dry track yet. Inters look like the best tyre for now.
And there's an update from Jeff on the weather. Let's have a look at the start then. Lots of wheel spin there, not the easiest getaway. And with Perez coming across and actually hitting us there, not ideal, but we'll continue on to lap 3. You can see we've got a little bit of issues with the durability right now as Carlos Sainz looks up the inside into the chicane. He's going to dive down the inside, much in the same way Charles Leclerc did here on the previous game, and manages to take away P3 from us. Not ideal. We want to be trying to keep him behind us as long as possible, but yeah, we've got a bit of a damage issue with the durability. The internal combustion engine and the gearbox are a little bit worn out, so we're going to have to do what we can here to try and keep up with Carlos Sainz. Down towards the dip we go. Hard on the brakes without locking up, and good traction away as we get the ERS deployed, and we look to the outside of the hairpin here as we go light on the brakes, slide in there as we go past Carlos Sainz, and somehow pulling off a drift to get past the Ferrari. And with that bold move out the way, that's actually just guaranteeing that Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc are going to start disappearing into the distance. This was lap 7. George Russell, the championship leader, chasing down his teammate, and Esteban Ocon, who is once again positioned at Alpine into the top 10 as they come into the dip section here. And Russell's already losing the rear there as he goes across the bumps. That will not be ideal for the underfloor, as he does actually get it going again and pulls away very slowly, just allowing everyone to go past him just to be polite, and he rejoins the back. Not ideal. On lap 11 then, this is the tyre situation at the moment. Arguably even worse than it was in Azerbaijan, because now all 4 tyres are losing grip, as Carlos Sainz has once again moved up the inside as we were looking at our damage report for all the durability of the engine, and it's not looking great. Running wide as well as we struggle to keep the Ferrari behind us and also keep the car just driving in a straight line on the circuit, sliding around all over the place. I mean, the more these tyres wear, the more we slide, and the more we slide, the more tyre wear we get. Just really exacerbating the issue. But there are moments where we can actually control it somewhat. We just got to pick our moments and just pray for a safety car. This was our teammate Jack Doohan chasing down Zhou Guanyu. Is he going to make a move into the final couple of corners, or is he going to defend from Lance Stroll, who's ended up right behind him here? Down into the penultimate corner. And Lance Stroll going all over the grass there, actually, as he's weaving about, getting in everyone's way, and pulls off to the side of the road with a bit of an issue to his power unit. That's him out of the race, and we rejoin on lap 18. We are still in front of Carlos Sainz. We've got a little queue behind us. Amazingly, though, not the entire field behind us, but we've got a virtual safety car resuming now after Stroll's stop on track. And down into the dip we go. Can we hold off Sainz? The AI will be attacking us aggressively at this restart as we come down towards the chicane, and the virtual safety car comes out again. Lance Stroll's car was still on the circuit, and they decided to re-release the safety car, or the virtual safety car, to deal with that. So once again, restarting after the virtual safety car, we've got 4 laps to go, and Carlos Sainz is going to be on the attack again, once now, and more than likely again at the end of the race when the final lap begins, and we do not want him to be getting past us, because this is our first shot at a podium, our best result this season so far. If we can pull this one off, it'll be quite amazing if we do. Yep, the race engineer once again giving us some great information. And 5 to 10 more minutes of the rain, which is not ideal as we run wide there. The tyre life is completely gone at this stage, as we've got basically no grip left. The 2 leaders have run away into the distance as we try to keep the car going as long as possible. It's not looking good for us, but we have got onto the final lap now. As we come around the final corner of the penultimate lap, onto lap 22. This is where Sainz is going to be attacking the most aggressively. The rain has stopped, I think, but the track remains quite wet, unfortunately. And we come through to, well, let's see. Will Carlos Sainz be able to catch us? There are sections of this track that he can do much faster than I can, especially with the tyre wear that I'm experiencing at this stage of the race. Sainz now getting right up behind us here. This is one of the sections that he is particularly fast at compared to us as we run deep into the hairpin again. Only slightly this time, though. We're keeping it much more controlled at this later stage of the race. Up the hill we go to the peak and then down into the dip towards the final sector of the race. As I mentioned, no racing line. Well, as you saw, no racing line. Not the easiest car to drive in the wet. This one at the moment, but hopefully it gets better. Of course, it doesn't help. Imola is not the most familiar circuit to me, and definitely driving it in the wet is not the easiest thing to do either. So this was really getting thrown in at the deep end, but we've got Monaco coming up next, which hasn't featured in an F1 My Team series since I think season 1 of F1 22, so well over a year ago. As we come around and cross the line, we've got Monaco to look forward to next, and we get our best result of the season so far, our first podium of season 2. I think I just drove over an end plate there. There must have been contact on the final lap between someone, not sure who, but Alex Albon picks up drive for the day, and somehow Ferrari have not screwed up on strategy, I guess because there were no pit stops in this wet race, and Charles Leclerc becomes the first non-Mercedes driver this season to pick up a win for Ferrari, just making that constructors battle even more intense as the three top teams draw ever closer to each other in the standings. And what a championship this could be if that would be a three-way fight between the three big constructors at the end. And even us on the podium, maybe we could get involved as we try to blind Charles Leclerc in front of an entire crowd. And here with the final result, Charles Leclerc picking up the win and the fastest lap, but actually looking down the order, we're actually not far off Perez at our best. Just struggled a little bit in the later, basically 90% of the race. Further down the order, we had Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, Esteban Ocon, Alex Albon, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Valtteri Bottas making up the point scorers. And all this means that Sergio Perez now leads the Drivers' Championship by 2 points over George Russell. 1 point behind is Carlos Sainz in third. Then another 3 points back, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Alex Albon, Radiant Slothz, Esteban Ocon, and Pierre Gasly making up the top 10. Further down the order, we have Lance Stroll, then a three-way battle for 12th between Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, and Valtteri Bottas, and finally the final point scorer being Zhou Guanyu. He's followed by Jack Doohan, Yuki Tsunoda, Nico Hulkenberg, Kevin Magnussen, Théo Pourchaire, Nick De Vries, and Logan Sargent. And finally, over to the Constructors. Ferrari now take the lead of the Constructors title away from Mercedes. Red Bull also jumping them as Red Bull and Ferrari draw level on points in the first. Aston Martin, Razor Slothz, Alpine, McLaren, Alfa Romeo make up the point scorers, followed by AlphaTauri, Haas and Williams. And that's all for this race. We'll catch you next time in Monaco.